So in the Bible, Jacob was a guy who spent most of his life lying, being deceitful, being manipulative, doing things for his own gain. And I love the story in Genesis chapter 32 where Jacob returns to Canaan and he's out of luck. It's not like times before in his life. He's not getting out of it, basically. He just heard from a messenger that his own brother Esau is coming to meet him, not with 50 men, not with 100 men, 400 men are coming to meet Jacob with the intention of murdering him for his sins in the past and what he did to his brother. And that night, God comes down and physically wrestles with Jacob. And I'll tell you why that's so powerful to me. Because I remember the first time I read that story, probably not that long ago, a couple years ago, my first time reading that story, my thought was, this seems like a battle between God and Jacob, is what it seemed like. But I realized reading this story again last night, to me, what it seems like is a battle between Jacob and his own selfishness. I don't see it as God punishing Jacob. And I think Jacob realized that in the moment, that God was destroying his self-reliance and basically telling Jacob, stop relying on yourself. And in that moment, the Bible says that Jacob clinged to God. And we're talking physically because God is here fighting Jacob on earth. And Jacob literally clings to him because he has no other option but to cling to him. And this isn't after his issues or what he's going through. This isn't after the storm. This isn't before the storm. This is during. And I realize I often pray empty prayers, and I like to say I'm relying on God, especially in hard times. But the truth is, a lot of the time, I'm not. I pray, but then I'm trusting myself that I'm going to get through this and I'm going to work through it. And this story last night just reminded me that we have to cling to God. And Jacob, he was physically fighting God, and God didn't abandon him. God didn't leave him in this tough time. I mean, he's up against 400 men, essentially, or he's going to be. God raises Jacob up. God names him Israel. God blesses him. And what God is to me, God is not a waymaker, or God is not a comfort keeper, but God is a waymaker. And why I say that is God is not going to move the mountains out of our way, but he's going to pave a path through. And I think about David, where God took this kid and put him against a monster, up against a giant, and David kills him with a stone. One stone. That's the God we serve. God didn't strike down Goliath. I'm sure David went up there praying, Lord, how am I going to beat Goliath? How am I going to kill this dude? And God didn't just, let me strike him down for you. Let me move him out of the way. God gave David the tools, and David was clinging to God just as Jacob did. And David kills him with the stone. And I find peace in knowing that if I'm fighting on the team of God against evil, I'm going to win no matter what, because any war that God wages, he will win. And we have seen that in every story in the Bible, throughout the Bible. Any war God wages, he wins. And with that, I believe it makes it easier for us to trust God in hard times.